Hello everybody, welcome back to the sessions on power electronics by Ramana. This is the 30th session in this series, which is a continuation of the previous session, in which we will be continuing to discuss. We will be continuing to extend our discussions on power quality and power supplies, which was started in the earlier session. In the earlier session, we have discussed the aspects of power. What is power supply? What are the requirements of a power supply? Power quality characteristics? What are the disturbances which may occur in the power supply voltage? And what are their effects? We will just have an overview of what we have discussed in the previous session just for a few minutes and then extend our topic to discuss the remedies adopted to nullify the disturbances or to avoid the problems which may arise in the output supply voltage of a power supply. So from these objectives, the first three were mainly focused and discussed in the previous session. Power electronic application circuits, what are they? Power quality characteristics, types of disturbances in utility power and power supplies. And in these disturbances, spikes are the most hazardous and most intriguing things in the power supply voltages which are to be eliminated. They pose many problems when compared to the others in terms of magnitude and phase and also the shape of the waveform, all those things. For that purpose, special focus will be paid to avoid these disturbances, and that is what we are going to discuss in this session. Devices used to suppress spikes in power supply voltages. Then once we understand all these things, what are the types of power supplies we have for various purposes, and again in that, what are the drawbacks of the conventional or linear types of power supplies are the main prototypes of power supplies we use. So these were the application circuits for power system protection, power supplies and specific application. But before entering into all these things, what we are doing is we are discussing the power quality characteristics and these things. We will be mainly discussing UPS and SMPS in the next sessions, then the protection circuits, and after that the application circuits in the following sessions. So power quality, it should be supplied so that it should be provide the desired speed control of drives. There should not be any flickering of lights. Operation of lights load should be satisfactory for all purposes. To meet all the requirements, power supply system should provide output voltage with constant magnitude and frequency without any fluctuations in magnitude and phase. So even though we follow all those things, there will certainly be some disturbances in any power supply voltage which results in the waveform, shape of the waveform. They are nothing but the deviation from the actual values, of voltage and frequency for various internal and external reasons, which may be short, which may exist for short duration as well as long duration. So these things we have uh, elaborately discussed. What are they and what are their effects and how will they happen? Those disturbances or these are listed as these things which come out to be 7. Most of them may also be called as 6. Most of the uh, classification engineers will tell them as 6 disturbances. voltage and frequency deviations, voltage spikes, harmonics, sharp or distorted voltage, electromagnetic interference, power outage and power blackout. So that is, these are the main disturbances which may occur. One by one we have seen all those things. Voltage deviation where low voltage and over voltage may occur. Frequency deviation again within the tolerable limits of plus or minus 5%, that is 47.5 to 52.5 Hz for our country, so that operation of all the AC equipment and the light equipment will be proper. And these are the main things which will pose many problems in terms of the shape and magnitude, which results in deteriorated performance of the load, that is voltage spikes, which we have discussed. And in this session we will find out some things to decrease the effect of these voltage spikes. Voltage spikes and transients, due to these things there will be a sudden or sharp rise in the magnitude of the voltage. It can be a single sided or it can also be double sided, that is voltage is rising and also becoming less or lowering, that is they are also called as dips and sags, rise and swells and rise. These may occur due to switching operations and circuit breakers opening and closing and lightning strokes, internal and external factors. Next, harmonics. Again we have followed, we have gone through all the slides where harmonics of different frequencies, which are multiples of fundamental wave shape, that is twice, thrice, four times, five times, that is odd and even harmonics, and how the resultant shape of the voltage will be there due to the harmonics effect. And when many harmonics are presented, this is how the shape will get deteriorated. These can be, these have to be eliminated. Mainly third harmonic, which has greater magnitude, has to be compulsorily be eliminated. That will be done by passive and active filters, and depending on the requirement, again the other fifth and seventh harmonics should also be taken care of, so that they will not adversely affect the waveform of the output voltage. And when it comes to even harmonics, due to the symmetricity of the supply voltage, they get automatically eliminated. And this is the effect of sharp or distorted voltage due to the AC chopping, where soft chopping and hard chopping was discussed. Due to this chopping, there will be a change in the shape of the voltage, as well as there will be a shift of the central axis of the waveform up above the actual reference axis or even below the reference axis. These are due to the operation of thyristor base, phase control, all those things, high frequency AC voltage chopping, electrical outputs. Likewise, we have gone through those things. Electromagnetic interference, where there will be a magnetic interference or interference or interfering of magnetic fields generated or induced inside reactor coils or uh, wherever high discharge of voltage will be there. Due to that, there will be interference in the nearby circuits. Due to that, in the particular output voltage of the switching source may get affected. That may be due to lightning, voltage spikes, or spark plug. Likewise, power outage and blackout due to various reasons, maybe for repair or maintenance or damage or during some hazards. Intentional or compulsory shutdown of the power supply from the utility companies, or even when we are using an internal voltage source, if that is damaged, you have to shut it down. Likewise, that is power outage, and if it is for very longer duration ranging from several hours to days, it is a blackout. Likewise, so they were the main 7 disturbances which may occur to the supply voltage. coming out of a given supply source, and in which voltage spikes are the main culprits which affect the output voltage adversely. So we will be discussing how to eliminate them, and here are listed 4 different devices which are mainly used in most of the circuits in all cases depending on the requirements and circuits to suppress the spikes in the supply voltage. Devices used to suppress the supply voltage spikes. First are isolation transformers, which will provide some sort of isolation between the actual equipment on which we are operating and the supply source. Metal oxide varistors, where a variable resistor is designed and operated to have resistance depending on the applied voltage across its terminals. We will be discussing that, and it is made up of a metal oxide, mostly zinc oxide. Snubber circuits are nothing but the circuits, a combination of RC type, that is resistance and capacitors connected in series with the series combination of R and C connected in parallel with the load. It can also be a combination of RCD. A diode can also be used in tandem, and not only that, to suppress the oscillations or to suppress the changing currents due to the high voltage spikes, uh, they will be providing paths for the remaining energy to be released, or they will snub out the extra energy stored in the form of voltage spikes by providing diverted paths. That is why they are called as snubber circuits. Next, the transformers as voltage regulators. So that is, in the first case, a particular type of transformer will be used as just an isolation to provide an electrical isolation between the supply source and the load. Here, again, a particular type of transformer is used as a regulating voltage source, or by doing some adjustments inside these transformers, we will be regulating the supply voltage as per the load requirement. So these are the main 4 devices. You will be asked to list out the types of devices. Just we will go through how they are operated, their simple logic behind their operation, and their circuits and designs. To start with, the first one is isolation transformers. As the name indicates, it is nothing but a transformer used to isolate the electrical source or supply source and the load. So without any other protection device to eliminate the disturbance, when a load is connected to the supply source, whenever there is a particular type of disturbance inside the voltage coming out of the source, that will be as it is fed to the load also, or due to high voltage spikes or harmonics or electromagnetic interference or higher frequencies or higher voltages, load gets affected, load may get damaged, and sometimes even the human beings or we who operate them will get an electric shock, resulting in further hazards. So first thing is, there should be a proper isolation, that is electrical isolation between the load and the source, and that is the idea behind isolation transformers. It is an electrical isolation of load circuit from electrical isolation of load circuit from the input circuit. The load circuit becomes electrically isolated and magnetically linked with the source, obviously, as it is a transformer. To the primary of the transformer, isolation transformer, supply will be connected and load will be connected to the secondary of the transformer, and we know the basics of the transformers. Primary and secondary of any transformer, they are not electrically linked, they will be only magnetically coupled or linked, except the auto transformers. It offers a large impedance to the voltage spikes. So the design of the magnetic core and the windings of the, particularly primary windings of the isolation transformer, will be such that it will offer a large impedance to the voltage spike. So voltage spike is nothing but a sudden sharp rise or dip in the voltage. That is a high change in voltage. For that purpose, you have to use large reactance, or primary winding should have more reactance, inductive reactance. Where it offers large reactance or large impedance, obviously that will be suppressed and its effect will not be carried over to the secondary side, which will be eventually fed to the load. So that is how isolation transformer works. As it offers large impedance to the voltage spikes, the rise in or dip in voltage or change in voltage will be opposed by the primary of the isolation transformer. Because of that, the effect of voltage spikes will not be felt at the load end. Not only that, the other hazards like getting shocks and other things, that is also taken care of because of the electrical isolation between the source and the load. Not only voltage spikes, the other things are due to transients and harmonics suppresses the higher order harmonics also. So isolation transformers are the simplest ones, which provide three important and basic protections and remedies for the effects of voltage spikes and harmonics. First thing is, by offering large impedance, the effect of voltage spikes and higher order harmonics, that is 5th and 7th order harmonics, will not be carried over to the secondary side, that is to the load. So 2 points are taken care, and the other is, the most important again, is electrical isolation is provided between the source and the load. Here are some figures shown for isolation transformers. In the first one, this left one, see, this is a simple isolation transformer. And what is an isolation transformer? It is nothing but a 1:1 transformer basically. That is, transformation ratio is 1. Transformation ratio is 1 means simply secondary voltage will be equal to primary voltage. Number of turns will be same. But what is happening over here? See, here you can witness in this waveform that there are so many voltage spikes and harmonics shown in this waveform, which may be coming as a result of many switching actions or lightnings or other circuit breaker trippings and openings, all those things. But these will be suppressed due to the large impedance of the primary side of the transformer, and the output voltage which is fed to the load connected to the secondary, it is not having any noise or disturbances which are shown in this waveform. So this input to the isolation transformer is coming out of the actual supply to which load should have been connected. So without the isolation transformer, load is directly connected to the supply source, but now main supply is given to the primary of the isolation transformer and load is connected to the secondary of the transformer. Because of this, noise or disturbances due to spikes and harmonics are eliminated. Load will get a proper sinusoidal waveform, and electrical isolation is also provided between the load side and the supply side. Here is another picture depicting of the avoiding of the hazard of the electrical shocks, where this is the main, V is the main sinusoidal supply source, which is given as the input to the primary of the isolation transformer. To the secondary of the isolation transformer, load is connected. Load is connected. For all other purposes, if this isolation transformer were not there, where load is directly connected to the source, if a particular person touches the load, there are always chances of getting electrical shock whenever some spike or harmonics or high voltage occur. But due to this electrical isolation, even when we touch, we will not get any shock. So the first purpose is solved, that is electrical isolation. Electrical isolation is provided. So that is how isolation transformer will result in suppression of spikes and harmonics and provision of electrical isolation. So these isolation transformers are mostly used in isolation of pulse circuits. Go back to our class C type of commutation where external pulse, class E type of commutation, external pulse commutation where a pulse transformer was used to give an external pulse to the SCR to get turned off. There, it is nothing but a sort of isolation transformer only. Small, and when compared to other transformers, these are very small in sizes, that is not only volume but also in ratings. And they are mostly 1:1 ratio. Electrical isolation of medical equipment. Mainly medical equipment, they are based on electrical aspects and also electronic aspects, so every protection has to be taken. And medical equipment are such equipment which are always handled by human operators most of the time, and many, including the operators and patients, will be coming into contact with the medical equipment. So it is a hazardous environment. A compulsory electrical isolation has to be provided. So isolation transformer will work as electrical isolation of medical equipment. Power supply of devices that are not at ground potential. Power supply of devices that are not at ground potential. Devices means, that is, loads which are not at ground potential. When proper grounding is not there, then also this isolation transformers will be acting as a better grounding techniques. Thus, they avoid the shocks. And also they are used for the purpose of electronics testing and servicing. In electronics testing and servicing cases, they provide safety and protect users from faulty equipment. By providing safety, because of that, safe and accurate measurements can be taken without any problem. They also avoid ground loops. Just it is also related to this one. They also avoid ground loops when ground is not proper. Avoid ground loops. Loop means when grounding is not proper. When an operator comes into touch with the testing and servicing equipment, there are always chances of the accumulated energies and also the currents flow from the equipment which may have some internal short inside it via the operator to the ground, where the human being or the person coming into contact will be providing a current path, and eventually that person will get a shock. So these are the uses of isolation transformers. Main purpose, not only in these cases, they may be used wherever electrical isolation is required and wherever you want to suppress the voltage spikes and harmonics from the voltage source to the load. The next device is metal oxide varistor or MOV. Varistor, the term comes from the combination of two words, variable resistors or variable resistance. As the name indicates, the resistance of this particular device varies Varies according to what? Varies according to the applied voltage across its ends. And it is mainly made up of a metal oxide, in most of the cases zinc oxide. This is the construction of the metal oxide varistor shown on MOV. It is made up of zinc oxide grains. These are the main things shown with haphazard shapes, zinc oxide grains, which are embedded inside a ceramic layer, intergranular ceramic layer. In this intergranular ceramic layer, zinc oxide grains are embedded, and this total layer is connected to metal electrodes, which will be eventually connected to the incoming terminals of that particular device in whichever circuit it is connected, and it is totally housed in sealed epoxy shell as shown in this. These are the connecting leads, and this is the symbol for the MOV. Just see this line which is shown like an extended or enlarged Z. It shows that it is a bidirectional device. It can conduct in both the directions. MOVs are the simplest and easiest procedures for avoiding voltage spikes and transients. So how will they operate? As the name indicates, their resistance changes with the voltages. Just go through this characteristic, IV characteristic of the metal oxide varistor, where voltage is taken on the forward and reverse voltages as usual on the x-axis and currents on the y-axis. When you go through this blue line or curve, which actually belongs to the characteristic of this MOV, see, as the forward voltage is increasing, nothing is happening, no current, even a leakage current is also not flowing through this varistor. You can observe that the curve is simply flat, that is, current is zero. But when the voltage exceeds beyond the breakdown voltage, there is a sudden increase in the current, or you can simply say that the resistance of the MOV will decrease to a total zero, and it simply conducts. So when you connect an MOV in parallel with the device to be protected, whenever a voltage spike or transient occurs, then the resistance of this MOV will fall down to zero values, and whatever excess current which may flow due to the spikes and transient will be flowing through the MOV. Thus, a diverting path will be provided, and it takes all the current till the total current is discharged, and it regains its shape. That is the beauty of this MOV. It is not that it cannot be used again and again. Also, it can be used in the same way in the reverse direction also. You will be having symmetrical characteristics when compared, when both forward and reverse regions are compared. If otherwise of this MOVs, if a simple resistor is used, it will be following such type of curve like this dotted lines. When a fixed resistor, linear IV curve will be there, which cannot be used as a protection for the diversion of excess voltages. So this is how an MOV works. It simply provides a zero resistance path at higher voltages, or the voltages which are more than its breakdown voltage. It is also normally called as clamping voltage. When the voltage applied across its ends becomes more than the breakdown voltage, or becomes equal to the clamping voltage, as the name indicates, it clamps over to the excess spike voltage, and it discharges in both the directions. So that is the operation of metal oxide varistor or MOV. Again, here is the shown IV characteristics. At lesser voltages, this resistance of the MOV is very high, and as the voltage is increasing, it gradually decreases. At higher voltages, simply resistance is almost zero. So because of these characteristics, these metal oxide varistors bypass the high voltage spikes or divert. It offers low impedance when the input voltage spike crosses the threshold or clamping voltage level. These are used for obviously overvoltage protection or voltage spike protection, line to line protection, switching protection, arcing protection, or whenever arcs form. That is, whenever opening of switches will be there, there will be formation of arcs. Even those arcs, the energy inside the arc has to be diverted from the actual device to be protected. So MOVs are the simplest options. In this slide are shown various procedures adopted for the protection of various devices or circuits to be protected. Circuits to be protected or devices to be protected by using MOVs. See, this is line to line protection in single phase. In a single phase circuit to be protected, or this is the load, or this is a device which you want to protect from the spikes or transients which may occur inside the input power supply. An MOV is simply connected in parallel with the device. Under normal voltages, load will be getting its full voltage, and this MOV will be designed and chosen, its rating will be chosen such that it will conduct at higher voltages which are hazardous to this load, and those higher voltages may occur during the spikes or transients. So whenever a spike or transient or even a fifth or seventh harmonic occurs, the resistance of this MOV will fall down drastically, and that extra voltage will discharge through it, and current will flow in either of the direction, positive or negative off cycle. So it is a bidirectional device also. In this is line to line protection in single phase, and this is line to line, and line to ground protection in single phase. The same load from the same single phase source. In this only protection by MOV is given between line to line. The same is repeated over here, and also between the line to the existing grounds are also provided. So 3 MOVs are used in this case, and the cost and the maintenance of these MOVs is very less. In this is shown the protection by MOVs for any switching device, maybe transistor, MOSFET, or any other thyristor. This will be simply connected in parallel with that. Whenever voltage spikes or harmonics or transients will occur, this will be providing a diverting path in either direction again. Thus it will protect. So we can realize this operation as if it is similar to a feedback diode or freewheeling diode, but in those cases those feedback diodes and freewheeling diodes will be providing certain path only when there is certain energy stored inside the inductor or capacitor, and that will last only during that release of energy only. But when some voltage spikes or harmonics occur, they will not be of any use because they cannot change their resistance. But MOVs play important role in such cases, and compared to them, these are bidirectional. That is the added advantage of MOVs. And this is not any, this will not provide any sort of freewheeling action or feedback action. This is only for protection purpose. Likewise, it is also connected over here in this case where a motor is connected to a given source via a relay, and relay is normally closed. Circuit breaker is normally closed and opens its contacts when short circuit occurs, and relay is normally opened but closes its contacts to activate the circuit of a circuit breaker. But here this protection is provided in such cases where this relay contacts open and spikes occur. So whenever a spike occurs, This MOV will provide a diverted path. This MOV will provide a diverted path. And if those spikes or transients are not hazardous to the load, nothing will happen. If this MOV is not used because of those spikes and transients, as they are higher in magnitude, these relay contacts will close. Thus, they will trip the motor via a circuit breaker. That circuit is not shown here, but this is how an MOV can be used for relay protection, where higher currents or higher voltages will not be applied across the relay contacts. So these are certain cases where MOVs are used. When compared to the isolation transformers, these are very simpler for protection. And cost, size, everything are less. So to avoid the hazards of voltage spikes and transients, isolation transformers and metal oxide varistors serve the purpose. Whereas isolation transformers provide the extra feature of electrical isolation, the MOVs cannot provide the electrical isolation. But by diverting path, they can avoid the hazard. The next device is regulating transformer, or when a transformer is used as a regulator or regulating. When a transformer is used to regulate the main power supply to give to the load. Again, it is nothing but a transformer with 1:1 or just above 1 transformation ratio, where certain tappings are provided on its secondary, and the operation of these regulating transformers are also discussed in the power systems part, where you will be finding this offline regulating transformers, online regulating transformers, where voltage ratios are changed, voltage tappings are changed for giving proper output voltage depending on the load. If voltage falls down, you will increase the tap or increase the number of turns of the secondary. If the load is suddenly decreased, you have to decrease the output voltage of the secondary. That is, you will decrease the number of taps, thus decreasing the number of turns of the winding. That is the basic action of the regulating transformer. Here is show the circuit from the supply source, main transformer. Again, these tappings are shown from the main transformer. Feeder is the actual uh, conducting wire, actual conductor, which is bringing the supply from the substation to the next level, a higher level substation to the next level substation, distribution substation. Just think of it as. And primary of the regulating transformer is connected in series with the actual supply, and it is also fed to a booster transformer. Again, it will be having 1:1 transformation ratio, and the operation will be such that as this primary of the regulating transformer is connected in series with the supply, it will be offering high reactance, which offers opposition to the change in voltage. And change in voltage is high when some spike or transient occurs. So whenever there are chances of occurrence of spikes or transients, the primary winding of the regulating transformer offers impedance, offers inductive reactance. Due to its inductive reactance, the shape of the waveform will be controlled, or rate of change of voltage will be controlled. That is how it operates. And go through the characteristics of this transformer, and these characteristics or this protection is obtained because of the core used for regulating transformers. They are basically ferro resonant cores. Regulating transformers are designed to have magnetic cores which are ferro resonant cores, which are better suited for regulator operations. Under normal for all normal ranges, this blue line is the actual transformer action. it will be simply fed to the load. The total actual supply voltage or supply voltage waveform along with this its magnitude and also phase, with the same phase, it will be fed to the load according to the load requirements under normal range. And this red zone is the actual zone which is related to the spikes and the transients, during which high magnitudes of voltages may occur and also the phase may shift. So this transformer should oppose the change in voltage during this red region. This ferro-resonant core results in that, and the ratings of this regulating transformer are chosen such that this red zone is nothing but the saturation region of this ferro-resonant core. So this during the saturation region, even for very high change in voltage, the change in output voltage will be very less. So even if there were a high spike, high change in magnitude coming out of the supply source and entering the primary of the regulating transformer, even for very large change in the voltage, may it be more than the actual or less than the actual, that change will not be felt in the load, or load will be getting its usual waveform. So that is the actual action of the regulating transformer. It depends on choosing of proper rating of saturation region of the ferro-resonant core. Regulating transformer, they change the magnitude and phase angle at a certain point in the power system. Certain point means wherever they are connected. After that, these changes will be felt. They change the magnitude and phase angle at a certain point in the power system whenever spikes or transients occur. They are mainly used for controlling the magnitude of bus voltage and for controlling the power flow, which is controlled by the phase angle of the transformer. Voltage spikes are suppressed as the transformer impedance comes in series with the load, as discussed. It offers more leakage impedance to higher harmonics and voltage spikes. All these things are because of this saturation zone. There are two types, particularly one is used for change of magnitude or control of magnitude, the other is phase. The first one is on-line tap changing or OLTC. It is also called as on-load tap changing transformer, which changes the magnitude of voltage. The other one is phase shifting transformer. Its uses, obviously regulating transformer is used for higher ratings, for surge suppression, short circuit protection, regarding during the circuit breaker operation, line noise reduction, phase-to-phase voltage balancing, harmonic filtering, etc. The next and last one is called as snubber circuit or snubber simply, but very interesting things, made up of electronic components or RC combination only. Snubber, which snubs out the oscillations or changes in voltages due to spikes and transients and harmonics. They snub out the change of the magnitude or even oscillations. That is why they are called as snubber circuits. They are nothing but a simple combination of an R and C in series, R and C in series, R and C in series. So this line is showing the RC snubber circuit which is used. Again, these snubber circuits are nothing but which will be provided divided path to release the energy stored inside the capacitor whenever there are spikes and transients. Two different circuits are used for the protection in different fashions. For different, here this is for diode protection, this is for MOSFET protection, again for MOSFET protection likewise. Mainly snubber circuits are used for electronic applications. Snubber is a basically RC combination circuit, but it can be RCD, that is resistance, capacitance and a diode in combination, and it may also have an inductance in series. The basic action of capacitance and inductance will come into picture. An inductance in series will oppose the change in voltage. The capacitance in Parallel will also oppose the change across the change in voltage across its terminals when connected in parallel, or it gets charged up to a voltage over which it will not allow it. Likewise, it offers low impedance to the voltage spikes and hence bypasses the voltage spikes. So this snubber circuit basically offers low impedance to the voltage spikes. And here are some waveforms shown with and without this snubber in this, and these are the turn off waveforms, not the actual waveforms. How the shapes are changing due to the RC snubber circuits. This blue continuous line is with RC snubber only when RC is used. So turn off waveform is in this shape. Again, continuous red line with RC snubber for voltage. So voltage spike is there. Current is taking this shape and voltage is suddenly increasing. And when RCD, that is a combination of resistance, capacitance and a diode is used instead of this path, the voltage rises shown by dotted lines. Thus, wave shape will be improved, and also the change in voltage is not that abrupt, and current turn off with RC, it is turning off at this time, whereas with the dotted line with RCD snubber it is coming to 0 in lesser time. So these are the turn off waveforms, or how the turn off means that is voltage, how the voltage spike is abrupted. And this is where an IGBT is used to carry the voltage, and this green line shows with snubber. And again, this is another waveform shown with RC snubber turn off waveform. This is for the current, it is shown, and this is the voltage. The actual voltage without this snubber may go like this, but it is coming out like this. As a result, this waveform will be improvised. So it snubs out the change in voltage or oscillations of the voltage above and below its nominal voltage value. Its uses are, it shapes the load line of a bipolar switching transistor to keep it in its safe operating area. It reduces the voltage and currents during turn on and turn off transient conditions. It removes energy from a switching transistor and dissipates the energy in a resistor to reduce junction temperature, as shown in this circuit across connected. So if this is not provided, there will be hot junction temperatures generated at the junctions of the transistor, which may damage the device. When these snubbers are provided, this resistor will taking most of that heat away, or dissipation of energy, or dissipation path will be provided for the energy. It limits the rate of change of voltage and currents during the transients. It reduces the ringing phenomena to limit the peak voltage on a switching transistor to lower the frequency. So these are the uses of snubbers, and thus we have discussed all the 4 devices used for suppressing the voltage spikes. Devices used to suppress the supply voltage spikes in the form of isolation transformers, metal oxide varistors, regulating transformers, and snubbers. So thus when you, they are the disturbances which may carried out from the power supply to the load. The most conventional power supply which was used in olden days and which you can witness mostly in your electronic labs is the normal power supply which you find in your labs. It is called conventional power supply or linear power supply. It is nothing but an AC to DC converter which gives a DC output voltage simply to be given as a supply source for the electronic equipment. But it will be having many features like change of voltage by rotating the knob, selection of different features, and to see the digital display of various values. In this particular voltage source they are provided, but without these features also it may be a simple voltage variable power supply. It is nothing but a transformer, rectifier, transistor based voltage regulator. Voltage regulator means The main supply is given to this supply source, and the output of this supply is given to the load. So transformer is used to step down the actual single phase voltage to a convertible level of the designed circuitry, and it rectifies the AC to DC, and the DC via a transistor biasing is given to the load by regulating the voltage via the knob. No other protection features are available in this, and it is the simplest of the power supply. All the disturbances which we have discussed, all the 7 disturbances, right from voltage, frequency, deviation, spikes, and chopped voltage, electromagnetic interference, they can occur in these things. So when other devices are used to suppress the disturbances in the power supply, then they will suit to our voltage requirements. They are the ones which we are going to discuss in the next session. Basically, the power supplies are divided into 3 types. Types of power supplies are the linear or conventional power supply, which we have discussed here. Linear or conventional power supply. The others are uninterrupted power supply or UPS, switched mode power supply or SMPS. These are the most common things which are witnessed nowadays. We knowingly or unknowingly we are using them, and mostly UPS are used for domestic as well as commercial purposes in large in large number of applications. Switched mode power supplies are the bigger ones used for commercial applications to supply larger loads. So the drawbacks of linear supply are these things. Owing to these drawbacks, we will be switching over to UPS or SMPS. Drawbacks of power supply are large in size, heavy weight, poor efficiency, very less 25 to 30% operating cost is high. As you are using a transformer, it becomes bulky. Laminated transformer core, because of that cost increases. Bulky capacitor, shielding is required to eliminate radio frequency interference. Regulation is very high, 0.1%. So to avoid these drawbacks, we'll be using UPS and SMPS. These are the things we have discussed in the last 2 sessions, right from power electronic application circuits, power quality characteristics, to the power supplies, disturbances, all those things. Comes to the quiz, voltage deviation means it is particular to say it is B. Low or high voltage problem is voltage deviation. A total power failure lasting several seconds to hours is called as blackout. Which is the drawback of a linear power supply? It is heavy weight. All others are not found in linear power supply. Drawback is heavy weight. And these are different sorts of questions. You will find list the characteristics of power quality, list the drawbacks, state the 4 devices for suppressing the voltage spikes, state any 4 causes of disturbances in a power supply, list the applications of power electronic circuits, write the types of power supplies, likewise. So these are the things which we have discussed elaboratedly in the last 2 sessions regarding the power quality characteristics and disturbances which may occur in them, all those things. With this, we conclude this session now to discuss further the other power supplies used for proper operation of the loads without any disturbances, which are UPS and SMPS, from the next session. Thank you.